A few weeks ago, the Democrats announced they're going to spend $20 million to finance the Speak with American Men project, otherwise known as SAM, so that they can win back voters in 2028. They're not so happy that they lost literally the entire young male base, as well as also losing numbers from nearly every other demographic. But specifically for young male voters, who are the future, that's kind of a problem. But why is this the case? Why are the Democrats losing so many young men?
It's because the demented dumb fuck Orange Cheeto makes these incels feel all uber masculine when he's at UFC with Dana White. Trump literally assaulted women and stripped their rights. He's so misogynist, and that's why they flock to his cult.
Yeah, no. See, these smart individuals on Reddit surely know what they're talking about. How then do we figure out this mystery? Right, we need an entirely new analytical system altogether. And I refer to this as ideas, not resumes. Both the left and the right get into these pointless keyboard wars on Reddit, X, or wherever, as they find every single thing to criticize about the people they hate. And this is why following politics feels pointless, because it's so unproductive. Your facts don't actually exist in the world of your political opponents. And that's why we need to refer to ideas. We need to assess why the ideas that the left believes in are fundamentally at odds with the ideas that these young men had. If you don't have ideas to back your resumes mean nothing because they're not measuring anything in relative. But when you have ideas, that's something that is objective, something that actually is quite concrete, a lot more concrete than resumes, because ideas can actually be communicated and can be understood by both parties. Even if the parties don't agree with the ideas, they can still comprehend what the other person is saying. It's a very simplified model of how to engage in debates, and specifically cultural and political matters. It's a lot more productive than going on Reddit and trying to be some keyboard warrior thinking you're all strong by saying that Trump is racist or that Biden is demented and senile. When we talk about what liberals believe, I'm only going to refer to social issues, and that has to do with issues that pertain to how people live their everyday lives, what they can and cannot do on a small individual scale. So that's going to exclude things like the economy or national security or how we perceive international issues. We're just going to talk about the social ones. And liberals are united in that they believe in personal freedom. And what this often correlates to is things like liberation and freedoms to choose what to do with your own body. That obviously has to do with abortion. Liberals believe that abortion is generally a good idea, even in the case of when there were two consenting partners that were engaging in sex. Liberals believe it's a good idea for a woman to be able to abort her baby if that ever resulted in a pregnancy in the first place. Liberals also believe in decriminalization. They tend to take a soft on crime view because they don't think that throwing a bunch of criminals or just making everything illegal is very productive. Which may make sense to some people at first, and it has good intentions, but as it plays out, the ideas of decriminalization, they also include decriminalization for things like drugs and pornography. This is included in their ideology of social freedom and trying to promote that. They'll generally say things like, if you want to do drugs or watch pornography or just do anything that makes you happy, go ahead and do it. And they approach this from a position of indifference. It's almost as if it doesn't matter to me, why should I care what you do? And so that's the fruits of their decriminalization position, is that they have legalized drugs like marijuana in several states. I know they had in California, my state, a few years ago, or probably much more than that, probably longer than that. And you also see lots of liberals want to protect things like pornography in the sex industry. Lastly, we look at higher education as another social position that liberals believe in. And again, I'm not against higher education. It is a good idea that they have for people to go to college, right? But as they believe in higher education, they also believe in this hyper sense of individualism, going back to their idea of personal freedom. They believe that degree, career, and money are all more important than family, which is what people used to work for. You see a lot of people going to college today, they are socially liberal as well as just liberal in general. And they would rather pursue the corporate ladder in the name of feminism or destroying the patriarchy. This goes for both men and women as well. And as they see much later, when it's too late for them to get married and start a family, they realize that the fruits of all of what they put into are not paying off for any sort of satisfaction that they sought. The satisfaction that they sought in their college degree, in the money that their career would generate, and the social status that it would also generate, it's not compensating for the love and objective happiness that goes into getting married and starting a family. This is fundamentally what all young men want. And young women want this as well, but specifically when we're talking about men, going back to the original question of the Democrat Party trying to address young men, they're not addressing the most crucial aspects of what all young men seek in their lives. The first of which is work. And when we talk about work, we're talking about something to fight for. See, young men need something to fight for. It's the nature of how they were created by God. And as we understand that sort of nature is transcendental and objective, that it's authored by God, and not something arbitrarily that happened from something like evolution, then we understand that there is an answer to how young men and young women as well need to grow up in this world and what they seek in their lives. That's something that the left does not believe. They believe in subjectivism, and so they don't give young men something to fight for, something to work for, and something to believe in. And as they promote the left, as they promote a lot of subjectivity regarding values and morals and also truth, it's very hard for young men to get a unified image of what the left has to offer them. And as a result, they defer to things like drugs or pornography to try to fill that void, this void that they are unaware is even present. And that's why young men need adventure, because without something to fight for, something to believe in, there's no diversity that can take place in their life. Their lives just become a mindless routine of just waking up and working whatever sort of boring minimum wage 9-to-5 job that these men are just forced to unfortunately default to, because they have no other direction or aim that has been offered to them by the leaders that are supposed to serve them. Lastly, that leaves us to a wife and children in number 3. We talked about this before, but family is objective, right? This is a value that serves not just men, but women as well, because it tells our natural instincts that we need to share our lives with someone else. That life isn't fulfilling if we just are selfish and work for ourselves and to just climb the corporate ladder and make a bunch of money. We need someone to share the fruits of our labors with and the fruits of our life with. And that is manifest through a lifelong partner, that is namely a wife for men and a husband for women, as well as the children that come with that marriage, to be able to show someone how to grow up in this world and how to teach them the values and to share your experiences with someone else. That is something that is objective and is also carnal to human nature. And that is what the left has largely abandoned as they kind of went for these socially progressive ideas of hyper-individualism and just telling people to do what they want. The Democrat Party has relied on a few key figures to be responsible for outreach to young Gen Z men. And these people are Parker Get a Job, Dean Withers, and Harry Sisson. If you watch any of these individuals' videos, you'll notice they have a very different kind of messaging to young men. Because a lot of their stances are socially progressive, specifically when it comes to things like race relations, abortion, the patriarchy, and in general, just all dimensions of social power. They have the message to young men that because they're straight white males, they are the natural oppressors of society. Because they're white, well, they're responsible for all the racial inequalities. And because they're men, well, they keep women down. And that also means that they should not be entitled to a pro-life position in regards to abortion because they're not women biologically, and so therefore they shouldn't have a say whatsoever. And so for young men listening to this kind of message, they can't help themselves but to just be turned off by hearing that they are the bad guys of society because of some immutable characteristics that they had no partake in choosing. What unites a lot of these individuals' beliefs is that they are not just socially progressive, they come from a secular humanist perspective. The left fundamentally believes that individuals and human nature are a net positive for society, that they have the potential for good, and that they are good by nature. And this is fundamentally against what the right believes, because the right is more grounded, and I'm speaking socially, strictly socially, the right is more grounded in a biblical perspective that recognizes that the nature of mankind has been corrupted because of the fall of Adam and Eve. And that offers a vastly different perspective on the right. When we look at figures like Charlie Kirk, who is a very popular conservative political commentator, I'm sure he needs no introduction because he has catchphrases like college is a scam. It's not the message of college is a scam or that he wants some sort of King Trump because he's so pro-MAGA. It's not these beliefs that make him super popular. I could be worried less about what he believes about Trump or college is a scam. What I'm more concerned about is the messaging he has for young men socially. Because he is grounded in a biblical perspective, the message he has for young men is to fear the Lord and to work hard with all they do in their lives and in their jobs, to prioritize marriage and start a family, to bear responsibility beyond just themselves. Because in a biblical worldview, we understand that life is not merely just for some sort of sensual or aesthetic pleasure, but it's to actually be children of God, to live in the world of our Creator and to bear fruit for it, to start cultivating the kingdom of heaven here on earth. And that's actually what the Catholic Church is supposed to resemble. It's supposed to resemble the kingdom of God and the kingdom of heaven here on earth, and to point ourselves objectively through its goodness, truth, and beauty upwards towards the heavens. That gives something that young men and young women as well something to believe in. It gives everyone something to believe in. And so to sum it all up, it's not a matter of political positions or resumes that is why young men left the left in the first place. It's because the ideas that the left had are not congruent with what young men are searching for. All young men need a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a woman to share their life with, as well as children to come from them. Or else life is not fulfilling because there is no giving. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something or that it opened you up to a different perspective. I make these videos not to slam someone or not to farm clicks, but really just to explain worldviews and to explain positions, and also to just talk about culture in a much more productive way than the internet likes to talk about. So I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. If you guys enjoyed, please do leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all the things, and I'll see you guys in another video. Thank you so much, and may God bless you all.